All right, let's get started. Yeah. Hello, everyone. Soul Commodore back at you again. And today we're going to be working some more on this painting here. Hope y'all are having a lovely day so far. I am just going to move this over just a bit. There we go. It's a little better. But yeah, I hope y'all are having a wonderful day. And yeah, we're going to start doing some more on this painting as I eat some cinnamon hearts. All right. So today we're going to actually start on, well, we're going to do some more details on the road. And what would actually help is if I brought up my reference image. That would help wonderfully. There we go. Shuffle this over. There we go. Yeah, it would help tremendously to actually have the thing that you need right in front of you. Now, before I was during the last stream, I was saying how a lot of art, when you're doing painting, is a matter of color matching yourself, which is to say, you're kind of trying to mimic what it is that you had done before. And I remember that I once got asked, well, if you're spanning a piece of work between multiple days and you're not using oil paint, and you're using acrylic paint or any other type of paint, like watercolor or something that'll dry fairly quickly, and you don't have enough of it on the palette to actually stay wet, and your paint happens to dry up, how do you color match? And the answer to that is fairly simple. You kind of, wet paint is different than dry paint, obviously, but what you want to do is you want to try your best to use the colors that you see on the palette that you want to use. Try your best to match that, like right on the palette. That would be my advice. Just gonna get some bright paint. Just gonna go in and add some brighter paint to some of these areas to brighten up some of the reflections. But I hope you all are having a good Thursday so far, or if it happens to be Friday where you are in the world. I'm sure there are some places where it is. Hope you're having a wonderful Friday and you had a good Thursday. My Thursday's been pretty low key. Most of my days are pretty low key. Just working and then coming and hanging out with you all. It was always a good time. There we go. All right. Now, just gonna check something on my laptop real quick. Okay, good. All right. Let's get back to it. Two more spots that I want to add right here. Go. All right, so I think I'm done kind of touching up this part here. I just want to let it rest. I just want to let it sit for a second. Well, longer than a second, but I just want to let it be, make sure that I'm happy with it. But in the meantime, we're going to work on the opposite side of the street. Sunny side of the street. All right. First, I'm going to grab some more cinnamon hearts. Just looking at my reference image, seeing what's what. And this reference image is an image that I took in the city that I grew up in on a rainy night in which some power went out on this side of the street. At least I think it was that night that the power went out. It also may not have been. But I think it was based on the other, what do you call it? The other pictures that are around it in the album. Oh, actually, you know what? No, I'm wrong. So there's this side of the street, right? If you continue down this street on the left-hand side, which we're facing this way, so it'd be our right. But on the left, if you were traveling this way, like on this side of the street, if you were traveling this way towards us, you turn left, that street, from that street over, like starting on this block, there was a power outage. I forget exactly what happened, but basically a transformer blew up, essentially, and knocked out all the power on that side of the city. And I remember it very distinctly. Oh, I remember the power outage very distinctly because my sister lives on that side of town, and she didn't have power for ages. So basically on this side of the street, we're gonna do the same thing we did on this side. I'm gonna start out by just kind of mapping out different areas of light and dark. Today might be a slightly shorter stream than it usually is, because I usually try to go an hour and a half to 2 hours, but I'm really tired today, so it might only be an hour. I don't know. But we'll see what happens. But y'all might get another week out of streams for this painting, depending on how I feel. Now, there's going to be something special down here in once we get the rest of the basis of this all done. But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. There's a big old puddle that's running down the middle. Comes down through the intersection, because all this highlight is coming off of that shadow, or off of, well, I mean, it is shadow, but coming off of that puddle. And then there's a bunch of highlight in here. Off of the no walk sign, or the walk sign, whichever. In this instance, it would be a walk sign. So there's a bunch of highlight there. Basically, you're just using a light amount of paint on the brush to basically do the same thing you would do with a pencil. You're just kind of sketching out where you would want the highlights and shadows. And I mean, if you want, you could also do this with a pencil. Like a nice charcoal pencil, like a white charcoal pencil, something like that. You could also do that. We'll add some black in there to kind of bring out a few of those highlights even better. Now we get to the crux of the whole thing. So a lot of this corner down here is going to be dark, even darker than this. So, and by this I'm pointing to an area that you can't even see on the painting, but the lower corner on this side is fairly dark. We're going to make it darker on this side. We're going to leave a lot of it darker, basically. Okay. This little area here. Now we're getting to the spot where we are just going to go straight down, because this is a bright bit of light that is coming through here. I don't want it to come straight down, so we're going to angle it a bit more this way. To kind of more match this side. It doesn't have to be perfect, because I mean, part of this is going to be painted over, but we want it to be, well, I want it to be as accurate as possible. But yeah, we're just gonna continue on down. And I'm just kind of bringing the brush back and forth. You know, nothing too elaborate or anything. And then that's going to be matched by I need to bring that street light up a bit. Yes, I do. This street light, this is just for reference. I'm gonna have to bring it up here more. So that's what. But that's good. Again, none of this has to be perfect right now. It doesn't have to be perfect, period. But I'm not super concerned with it being 100% accurate right now. I'm more laying the groundwork for the more detailed stuff we're going to do in a minute. But there's going to be a lot of bright reflection up in here. Start right about here. Cut off right about there, because this puddle is coming through. Kind of highlight that a bit. Like so. Start getting bright again. And this one's actually going to go further down on the road than the one to its right. And it's going to actually run into a series of puddles. It's more down here. Because this pavement really needs to be redone. That's the long and short of it, really. There we go. I'm gonna eat the last of my cinnamon hearts. Whoa. What? Actually, I'm gonna go on a very quick break, just a minute-long break, in which I'm gonna run an ad. Because apparently there's gonna be an ad running, even though I ran ads before the stream started, so I'm just gonna go on a very quick break. So we'll see you all in about a minute. Sorry about that. Just a minute, everyone. Well, that's really annoying. Sorry about that, everyone. But we should be good now. Okay. And again, a lot of what I'm doing to get this effect is just using very, very little amount of paint on the brush. Like just a shadow of paint on the brush, basically. Very, very little. Just a whisper of paint. Just enough to like get pigment down. Basically. I actually didn't want to paint there. Black paint to edit that out. So, good. So I'm going to introduce a little black to the white that we're using. Get a nice gray tone. And this time we're going to have more paint on the brush. Not a super larger amount, but more. And here I'm just going to do very broad strokes just to kind of lighten some areas. A lot of this is going to end up getting covered by, like I said, I'm going to come in with some black and do some like puddles and all that kind of stuff. So a lot of this will end up being covered up, but it is going to give us a little more depth, sort of like doing an underpainting, which I don't do a lot of, but what underpainting can do, and it definitely happens a lot more in oil paint than acrylic, is it can kind of tint the way that you want your paintings to look. Which is the big reason why a lot of people do underpaintings. yeah, it can get you the actual color that you want. Which can be very helpful. So say if you want a picture to take kind of a, you kind of want an overarching yellow tone in your paint, you might do an underpainting that's largely comprised of yellow and then paint over it. Because the paint will actually pick up some of that yellow that's underneath and let it kind of come through in the final piece. So underpainting is definitely a cool technique to use. I don't do a lot of it, mostly because of a character fault of my own. I just don't have the patience for it. I just don't. But if you do, then you should definitely try it out. It's definitely worth it. There we go. All right. Now, we get to make some decisions. Where some stuff is going to be. Collection over here, some stuff down here. What is that that's shining up there? I don't know. But it doesn't really matter. Yeah, the key to doing anything that's sort of like this is just bringing the brush back and forth. That'll do it. Just small little strokes, just to kind of suggest. Like I said, this area over here, I'm gonna make fairly dark. So there is a tiny bit of white to this black paint that's going over here, but not a whole lot. I'm sure if you've seen Bob Ross, you know that what he does a lot is he tries to get the brush strokes out of his painting. Now, I remember someone once asking me on stream if that was general practice, um, that's what you're supposed to do, because they rather liked the brush strokes. I think it was on stream that someone asked me this. I don't know. There's been so many of them. Uh, so many streams, I mean. Um, and regardless of whether it's on stream or not, this person asked this question, and the answer is, whatever you want to do with the brush strokes is your prerogative. If you want to take them out of your painting, you can take them out, which is like basically like you're painting in one direction, right? Say you're painting up and down here, right? If you don't want those brush strokes to show up, you would do a consistent grain by like going back and forth like this, right? And really trying your best to feather out any of the harder brush strokes that there might be. And also using thinner layers of paint, right? But if you want to leave big old honking brush strokes in your painting, you can go right ahead. You can do whatever you like. It's your painting after all. You can do whatever you want. Like I said, some people really, really like brush strokes in their paintings. And some people don't. And it's all good. All right. I'm going to clean up a little bit of paint that I just dropped on my carpet. Thankfully, it was a dry piece of paint that was on my palette and not like a big blob of paint. And by carpet, I mean rug. Because I'm not a big fan of carpets themselves, but I do have a rug in here because rolling around on this chair can be loud for our friends that live downstairs. So I try to minimize that as much as possible. While we're waiting for that to dry, I'm going to start putting in some of the lawn here like we did over here. So I'm going to need this brush here, kind of a mid-sized rounded edge brush. It's almost shaped like a tube, like the bristles are cylindrical. It's a cylindrical shape. And I'm gonna grab a little bit of blue. Oh, did all my blue dry? All my blue dried. Huh. Grab some blue. Come on. And we can grab some yellow. Try our best to make the same base green that was over here. And we're going to add some black and white to that to kind of gray it out. Well, I didn't want that much white. We still need this to be dark. We just want this to have the hint of green. So we're going to leave a little bit of an edge on it because we also need to paint in the curve. A little bit of a gap underneath. Bottom edge won't be perfect, but the curves and all that kind of stuff are going to be details that we're going to paint a little bit later in the process, once we're doing like a lot of the fine detail work. And I know that like the road itself is a pretty big detail. There's a lot of minute details in it, but it's also fairly quick to do, if I'm being honest. Quicker than doing all the minute details. So there are some major components to the detail in the road, but right now we're going to focus on. It's a much broader amount of detail than this grass per se. Or what am I saying? No, it's broader detail in than like say like the traffic lights and the curves and the little bits of signage that we're going to be doing here and all that. those are definitely finer details than what we've got going on the road. And the road has much finer detail than what we're doing in the grass. So that's what we're going to do on the grass for now. Again, very small amount of detail for now. Let's see. Before we continue on with this, again, because this is still a tiny bit tacky, I'm going to do some of this center line here. I have to make it a tiny bit thicker. But still the muted, still keep it the muted yellow color. The very muted yellow color. Sorry, I know I'm covering up some of what I'm doing with my head. I just need to be square in front of it to get the positioning right. If you find that you've got some paint that you don't quite want in an area, like you kind of messed up and it's not where you want it, you can just use your, like I just did, you can just use your finger to kind of wipe some of that paint away. Paint will be wet enough that it'll either blend in, which can sometimes be a nice effect, or it'll just erase the paint off the canvas entirely. especially if it's like a small amount of paint. Like if you've got a big old like clump of paint on there, I wouldn't necessarily employ that method. But if it's a small amount of paint that will dry relatively quickly, just on its own, you can just do that. Just use your finger to kind of wipe it off, or like rub it in. I have to say, out of all the colors, I find that mixes with yellow and green to be the most difficult, and especially like a muted yellow like this, like yellow gray. All right. Hey, El, welcome in. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, but sorry to hear that you're having a rough go. But I'm glad that you're here. Feel free to vent in chat if you like, or send me a message. There we go. Again, I apologize if you can't see this because either my head's covering it or it's below the. I had to go to the doctor to get blood tests, and I have a needle phobia. Ah, I see. I see. I'm sorry to hear that. That's that's definitely a big deal. You know, have that done. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. The annoying thing about phobias too is like people tend to have this idea that like once it's over with, that like you should be over it. And it's like, well, no, that's not how it works. That's not how the human brain works. Let people process it how they need to, you know? Exactly. Keep reliving it. 8 dinner early so I can go curl up in a ball soonish. That's fair. That's very, very fair. Very fair indeed. I can understand having that mindset because I do as well. But honestly, if you can't function, you know, you should be I'm not gonna say should because I'm not gonna tell other people what to do, but um, I think it's a good idea to um, like what you're doing, which is to like let your brain calm down and rest before you can even think about doing any work. You know, blood pressure keeps going wacky and you feel faint. That that happened to me a couple of years ago. I say a couple; it was actually quite a few years ago. We've gotten into that. Also, like I hear what you're saying, but I don't consider it whining. You know, I consider it a friend. You know, needing to get some stuff off their chest. You know. Might be a mistake to use this brush for this, but we'll find out. Well, I mean, what are doors for? But to be kicked in, you know. Yeah, I don't mind at all. You know, we should normalize people doing that more often, so that people don't just like keep all their emotions pent up inside. You know, because that can be much more destructive. Exactly. Internet hugs. Back at you. Okay. And we're gonna down here. And there's gonna be black in between all of these. But this brush is actually doing the job. I'm kind of shocked. So we're gonna keep going. Basically reflections that are going to be in a puddle that's running down like the middle of this road, basically. Thank you, Al. I appreciate that. I always forget how much I like doing paintings like this until because you know, I am a fan of the more conceptual stuff that I do. But it is nice to kind of relax and just do something that you know looks kind of looks kind of cool. There we go. Just because it's photorealism doesn't mean it can't be high concept too. Oh, sure, sure, sure. But what I mean by that so much isn't so much like the content of the painting. It's just that this is just a painting of a rainy street corner that we're gonna put up in our house, right? Like, I don't have a concept that I'm really putting behind this. I meant it more like just on a personal basis. Uh, Other people can read concepts into it and take whatever interpretation they want out of it. But for me personally, this is one of those paintings where I don't really have any meaning behind this. It's just a nice painting. Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. I always embrace if other people get feelings and concepts out of my work. Um, I always embrace that. Oh, excuse me. Yeah. So I'm glad that it evokes feeling. You know, very happy about that. And if other people see more in this than I've had in mind, just like my more conceptual pieces, if they have a different reading than I do, if they take what they want out of the painting, I mean that's fantastic. As long as it invokes some sort of feeling in someone, that's always what I'm looking for. So that's awesome to hear. You can smell the rain in the mud. Yeah, good old petrichor. It's one of my favorite smells. That and like when, because people usually don't mean this when they say petrichor. They usually mean like the wet, like kind of muddy smell. I also love the smell of like hot pavement getting wet, which I smelled a lot like growing up in Chatham because it rained a lot, and so it's one of my favorite smells in the world. So we're gonna get some black paint now, and we're gonna go in really really dark in some of these areas. Kind of offset the lightness of the reflection. And these are ostensibly just ostensibly just puddles that are in the road, just patches of puddles that aren't picking up the actual light, whether because they're too wet or too deep. Once on Instagram comment of someone who there's a post of someone who does a lot of, but they're an artist as well. Um, but their posts are usually have either that like lo-fi nostalgia music that you hear all the time now, or it was something like that, or um, what else? How else can I use it? Or is like the lo-fi stuff that I listen to, right? When I'm painting with y'all. Um, and one of the comments, and this is why the internet is so funny sometimes. The things that people complain about. This person had, I wish I could remember their name. They had beautiful paintings, um, just beautiful, beautiful work. And one of the comments was complaining that they were artificially inspiring people to feel things about their paintings by using the music that they were. And it's like, okay, of all the stupid things to say, artificially, it's like, obviously, like music can have an effect on something that I mean, you just look at like movie scores and how they would be different if how a scene would be different if it had different music. Like obviously, music can be used to affect some sort of feeling, but The paintings were injecting those feelings all on their own. It wasn't music. Yeah, exactly. That guy is that guy, and nobody should be that guy. All right. Now we got some more puddles down here, so we'll grab some more black. Art is artifice. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you're right. It literally is. Just realized I don't think you can see what I'm doing. Maybe you can. Yeah, you can. Never mind. Don't mind me. How dare you trick me into feeling emotions, my dude, my guy, my pal? That's what art is for. To feel things and think things. To experience the world through other people. Maybe learn some fucking. Yeah, yeah. I I am not saying that this is an original thought, because I'm sure plenty of people have had this thought before, long before me. But I was what I do quite often is if I have a thought that I want to like write down or something, like I'll write it in my notes on my phone if I don't have paper around. Well, I never write it on paper anymore because I just lose the paper. Um, but thankfully I don't lose my phone. Anyway, I wrote that art is like artists are interpreters for themselves, right? Artists are interpreters for themselves. Basically, the beauty about art, whatever form your art takes, whether it's visual or music or film or writing or programming a video game, whatever it is that you do to showcase your art, whatever it is, you are an interpreter. You're a translator interpreting your feelings and your thoughts and your emotions into a medium where everyone else can experience it. And you're the conduit for that. Otherwise, they would just stay trapped up in here. And I think that's a beautiful thing. You know, like the things that I create all live in my head. And there are some artists that don't have they have aphantasia where they can't picture things in their heads, but they still have things that they want to say and want to express to other people. And whatever way that their art gets transcribed, that's how they do it. Yeah, artists are interpreters for themselves, and it's a wonderful thing that should be cherished. You shouldn't be you shouldn't be that guy. You have partial aphantasia about now. That's a I can understand being upset about that. definitely. I didn't know that was a thing for a long, long time, and then found out that not only like I learned about it, and then almost like that Bader Meinhof effect or whatever it's called, Bader Meinhof, where like you learn about something and then you see it like everywhere. Like a long time ago, we got a Shih Tzu, and then all of a sudden I saw Shih Tzus everywhere, right? Because your brain is attuned to it now because you experience it yourself. Um, I learned about aphantasia. Um, I think if you've always had it, then you'd mind it a whole lot less. Oh yeah, definitely, definitely, for sure. That's sort of like as a tangent. That's sort of like an interviewer once asked Stevie Wonder if there was like a way to cure his blindness if he wanted to be cured of it, and he was like, "Well, I've always been blind, so like, no." Whereas someone who went blind as an adult, say, like I'm sure they'd be all over it, you know. So that makes sense. I'm using the wrong brush for this. But I could picture shit in my head and turn it into fucking 3D model. And now I'm like, orange, round. Hmm. I see. I see. Yeah, that would definitely be frustrating. Most definitely. Um, what was I saying? Oh, right. So like I learned about aphantasia, learned what it was and all that. And then come to find out that not only does my dad have it, but my sister has aphantasia. Because my sister asked me, hey, if if I asked you to like picture an apple, like would you be able to do it? And I was like, yeah. And she was like, see, yeah, I can't build pictures in my head. And then we were talking about it, and then my dad's like, neither can I. And I was like, whoa, that's wild. The one that blew me away is not everyone has a little voice in their head that reads everything, right? That's so crazy to me because it's like that dude's been with me for as long as I can remember. Yeah, that's wild. The brain is something else. Absolutely fascinating and also a little bit terrifying. It's gonna get covered up anyway. I won't worry about it now. Sometimes I wish that dude would shut up. He sometimes talks too much. Well, mine has my old accent. So if I read stuff out loud, you'll sometimes hear a very different accent. Ah, fair, fair. What what accent is that, if you don't mind me asking? Mine just sounds like me. Mine's mine's boring that way. Oh, that weird English, but not English. Sometimes called like the transatlantic accent. Fair, fair. Yeah, like they used to have in like old movies and whatnot. Cool. I mean, that's not a bad accent to like hear things in or read things in. I mean, none of them would be bad, but that's cool. Yeah, the transatlantic accent, also called the mid-Atlantic accent. Faux English. I used to always sound super pissed off too, no matter how I felt. Fair, fair. I knew somebody like that in high school. They were a very lovely person, but you'd always think they were mad. What it is that, you know, they were just a very intense person. It was good. You always knew where you stood with them, you know. Um, they weren't one for mincing words. They weren't one for hiding away their emotions, which is a good thing in my mind. Okay, so I think the last thing we're going to do for now is we're going to inject a little bit of green into the reflection here, much like we did on this side. Won't be a whole lot of green, but it'll be enough. So we're going to take some blue, some light yellow, trying our best to match the green that's up top there. Take a whole swath of white, move to a cleaner part of the canvas or palette. Oh, we're going to need some more yellow. That just ended up looking really, really blue. And we're going to try our best when you're done with this. Can I get some high-res images of the pavement closest to the POV? I want to see how you do magic. Sure, sure. So like this area here, this area here. I guess closest to the POV, that would be like down here. Yeah, yeah, I can do that. I can send them to you on Discord. All right. So, first things first, come up here, start layering it in here. Kind of follow it down. So we laid down a template already. Well, thank you. I'm glad. I'm glad that people find it interesting. Well, that's there we go. That was too yellow. Still kind of too yellow. Gotta add more blue to it. Okay, that's better. You gotta make it paler. There we go. Add a little bit more down here. Not too much though. Don't want to overdo it. And as long as we're doing that, I think we're gonna add just a little bit on this side. Yeah. There we go. All right. And just put the plastic back on this. I think that's gonna do it. It was funny. I was gonna end stream a little earlier today, but we're actually ending right around when I usually put. I do have to. I've said it before. I do have to build up some more. Build up the stamina in my hands more, so I can get back to doing like the 2-hour art streams. And eventually, I want to do what I did that one year, where I did the basically starting and finishing a painting, which ended up taking like 8 hours. But I was doing a lot of painting and everything, so I just got to get back into it so that my hands will get back to normal. But yeah. Hey, no problem, Al. Thank you for coming in. Thank you for coming in. Frill right, razor, frill razor. Ah, fair. Um, what I might do actually is I might because I was planning on rating Base Windu because he's doing the charity stream for Gamers Outreach, um, and he's also playing like community Fall Guys. So, but I will check out Krill Razor, um, most definitely. Windu is a rad dude. Yeah, I like him a lot. Um, but I will write that name down actually. Let me put it in Twitch right now. Krill Razor. Cool. So yeah, I will definitely check out Krill Razor as well. But yeah, I was gonna just get some more eyes on the charity, you know. Ah, yes, thank you. Cool. All right, so with that, let me actually set the rate up. raid based window. There we go. So yeah, for those of you who don't know, he is doing there's a bunch of streamers doing charity streams this week for Gamers Outreach, which is a charity that gives kids the opportunity to play video games while they're in the hospital, which I have personal experience with when I was younger. So it's a great thing to help take these kids' minds off of their what they're going through. So definitely worth checking out. If you can't donate, money tight, I mean, hey, there's no problem with that. Just spread the word, you know. That's all we can really do at the end of the day. But thank you all for coming in. Elle, I will get these pictures to you once we're done here. Once we raid out, and send them to you over Discord. And yeah, with that, I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day. Next stream is going to be Sunday, Sunday morning. Going to be playing some more Celeste at like probably 10 or 11 a.m. Haven't quite decided yet, but yeah, we will be working on this once again next Monday, unless I can't get my game stream to work on Sunday, in which case we'll do this then. But hope you all have a fantastic night. Thank you, Elle. Same to you, and take it easy, everyone.